So we're starting on this one, and we need to determine our colors. So we're using velour, gray velour, obviously. This is what we always use. And I'm really thinking about BE37. BE37 to match this. And then we'll go over pencils. And BE35, BE25. So BE25 for the basic here is going to match okay. BE25. And then NE11 is going to be this down here. NE11 is a nice color. It's a bit more red underneath this artificial light than the daylight, but I already looked at the daylight. BE25 for the basic areas, BE37 for these super light areas right here versus here. So the super light areas is going to be, or sorry, like this, is going to be the BE37, and BE35 is going to be everything else. And we're going to go a little darker here with like BE4. Anyway, so yeah, color chart. I'll make another video on color charts about how important they are. But yeah, you sort of need them. So here is our selection of pastels. By the way, this is a custom set that I had made for Unison pet stuff. So it has everything that I possibly could ever need. Okay, so we're here, and it looks photorealistic because we're using literally the exact colors that are on the reference. So it looks good, and we're using my standard dots and dashes sort of technique. So let's discuss how we approach this next area, and that is we go white, a light, a darker, and then a black, and then a white. So let's see how we approach that gradient. So if we look on our handy chart, the idea is to go from this one to this one. So you get the super light, then you get a little bit darker, and then we need a darker still. And to get that, we're going to sort of wander over maybe into here. So go here, here, and then maybe like one of these, and then into here. But we need to do this strategically. So I've already sort of started this. We need to do this strategically, and we're going to do it by grabbing the 30. Okay, so we're doing 37 first, and then we're doing just a little bit here. So I want to transition from this white and get this lighter color. Now you'll notice that I'm just making these little dashes with my pastel. By the way, these are Unison. You can use whatever you like. You can use Rembrandt, would actually be perfect for this. Rembrandt is nice, firm pastel and whatnot. Now we're going to graduate into sort of this NE5 right here. So as we sort of sneak in, again, we're not like just killing this and just slathering a thick layer on. We're just using little dashes and little dots, man. That's pretty much, if you just use that. Again, if you had Rembrandt, I don't have Rembrandt anymore. I ended up giving that away. But if you had Rembrandt, that would be so perfect for this. So now we got like this little bit of a light, or a little bit of a darker thing coming in. And I know we go almost straight to black from this point, but I want to get one more extra layer of darkness in here. So we come in, we just sort of get this in here. And I know we're going over a lot of this with black, but yeah, just getting that extra, and we'll just go a little bit into that previous color, not a lot, and then come in through here, and got that realism looking nice. And especially down here, we have a lot of this color. So I want to sort of extend it down, and then come up through here, and then obviously we have the black up top there. So just sort of showing you just sort of that gradual sort of movement between one and the other, and made possible by our color chart that we did, right? So now we're going to get just a boatload of pencils at this point. So we got a couple of pencils. So we're going to get our pencils, and now we're going to come in here. And I want a sort of this light this light area, you know, this sort of a little bit of an orangish kind of feel coming in here. So we have an orangish feel, just sort of accompanying this. And again, small little dashes as we sort of come in here. And then as we sort of get closer, we go a little less of the orange. And then we come into a little darker color. So that was our orange. So I want a little bit of a darker color. I'm going to grab this one and then this one. So we'll start with this one. And again, we're just going to come in through here. Just give a little bit of a hint of this. Don't need a ton. It's almost virtually the same color as the previous thing. But so now we got that layering going, right? So now we're going to go, again, a little bit darker. We're going to grab this one. And as we sort of coming over, we get a little bit of that dark feel coming through here. Now be sure to leave gaps. You don't want to just fill it in. So I'm leaving a lot of nice little gaps. And then we sort of just come in like that. Now we're getting into this heavy area, so we're going to get the brown. You get that brown and just sort of let that sort of soak in here. Let that soak in. We're always going the direction of the fur. That brown sort of soak in a little bit. And come in through here, and again we have the black over through here, but this gives that natural progression as we come through. And we have that white, so we're going to get our colored pencil. We're going to sort of make a little bit of the whiskery action coming down through here, and then we're going to have a little white, not a lot, but like a tick mark here or there. White never hurt anybody, right? Just sort of a little bit, sort of a little bit of that white, and there's a little bit more white here. So we'll get sort of that, and then obviously at the bottom, it's a lot of the white whiskers coming down. So we'll get our colored pencil and just sort of just liberally abuse the white at the bottom here like that. So I mean, that looks really good, right? It looks really good. And now we're ready to come in with our black. And obviously this area is solid black. So we're gonna go pretty liberal in here with the blacks. Sort of replicate, you know, sort of what we see in the picture. Got a little thing coming out there, and then as we come up, we got like a thing here, and then as we sort of sneak in through here, we have like this pattern, oval patterns. We have like ovals here and ovals there, and then a little bit less, right? Like that. They're still connected. They're just, you know, kind of this weird pattern. And then we have this one right here, just sort of random. This is not as hard. This is sort of soft with a little bit of a center to it. Okay, now the important part here is, if you'll notice in the reference, we don't just have this black. Around it, we have these darker hairs. So I want to replicate that by sort of coming in with maybe a brown colored pencil. So we have a brown colored pencil, and we just lightly, just super lightly, just sort of hit this out like that. Then we have, you know, a little bit of that pattern where you have that action around there. And so then as we come in closer, and press a little bit harder with this colored pencil, and get some of this action sort of as we sneak in through here. So we're going to mix this with black, you know, obviously, because we're going to get our black colored pencil and come in as well. So the closer we get to the back of this, the more that black pattern we have. So we're just going to get this and just going to sort of go ham right here. So yeah, so there's you. Get on the top here, get a little bit of that action like that. And then we can also get our red, you know, a little bit of a red. Not too red, but a little bit of that red. Just sort of put that in here too, so we get kind of something interesting for eye to look at. Just a little bit. I mean, we don't just slather it on. So we got like a little something for eye to look at. So that's pretty much what we're going to do, and then we're just going to repeat that for the rest of the whiskery type areas on the face there. So again, we just came in through here, and then we just got a bit of that action there. And yeah, I mean, it's looking good. So let's take a peek at how we handle just general hair texture within this. The first thing you'll be tempted to do is to just grab a pencil and just start making hairs manually. That doesn't give a lot of depth to the drawing, and it also doesn't have a lot of color because these pencils don't really release a lot of color. I mean, you have to really mash hard, and it leaves gaps and things like that. A much smoother solution is to get your pastel stick of choice. In this particular case, it's going to be Unison Pastel. You can use Rembrandt or New Pastel or whatever that you like to use. And then we just sort of come in here and just start making hairs. And we're just going to turn it kind of on its side and just start making short hair texture. Now, if it's a long hair, obviously we would make, master the obvious here, we'd make longer hairs. But these are short hairs, so we're just going to sort of get that short hair feel within this. And you're going to use a couple of different colors. So I just switched colors to something a little lighter, to the little lighter space over here. And then we can mix in something a little darker as well. And so to have that nice texture, the nice sort of, the silky smooth mixed with a bit of a textured feel. And that looks really good on velour because it's obviously velour. And then we're going to come back in with our pencils. We have a big array of pencils to choose from here. Come in. I mean, I see a little bit of red in here, so I'm not going to go wild, but we get this sort of this reddish texture, and that's going to mix well with that. And don't make a pattern, don't make a pattern of it. You want to, and then get that sort of that golden feel too. Again, we're not going to go crazy. We're just going to get a bit of that within here for this particular part. And we're going to keep it light. We don't really want to get too dark. So there are like little brown specks within here. So we can get our brown. And again, make our little brown specks. We can just sort of, just sort of hit it like that occasionally. Have it spread out. Avoid making any patterns and whatnot. So I mean, that's going to give us a nice feel and a nice texture to that particular hair area. And obviously you want to sort of be cognizant of areas that are lighter and areas that are darker. Areas that are darker, we're going to come in with a bit more of the, little darker feel pastel. And areas that are lighter, we can go over it even after we put it in. We can go over it with just a little smidge of white. Not a lot, but a little smidge, right? Just a little smidge of white will give us that lighter feel to it and give us the depth that we need for that. So then when we zoom out, I mean, the hair looks legit. I mean, it looks real. So we have that darker section, we have the lighter section, and we have a control over how the hair looks. And again, remember, I mean, this is going to be a darker section, a little darker. This is going to be a little lighter. We're going to have a little darker here, and we're going to get our pastel stick and make those marks. So basically, it's a lighter section, and we get a pastel stick and make marks in it afterwards, right? So that's how you're going to sort of separate the lighter here, the darker tick marks, the darker section, and then the lighter section above that, and then the darker section above that. You're just going to use different levels of pastel and a different combination. You're not going to use one pastel. You're going to use the light, and you're going to use a little of the dark just to make that darker. So I call this the black and white trap. That's basically where you have a darker gray and a lighter color, but your first impression is it's black and white. Let me put black and white on the paper. And I think that's a mistake because it doesn't look very real. And the reason is because this white doesn't really match the other colors that you see across your painting, and nor does the black. So what I recommend is to get the lightest color that you've used around here and put that here, and then come in with white and just sort of, you know, here and there you have sort of that hairy or that movement textured type stuff within here. You can also do colored pencil as well. And so for dark gray or for black, you will put sort of a dark gray as a starting point. And then you can add to that with making little marks with your colored pencil within here, sort of like little hairs almost, you know, little marks for the texture. And that way you have a dark gray with a sort of a black texture within it. And I think that looks much better because now it sort of matches the rest of the painting or the rest of the drawing, and you don't really have that black and white trap to where you just suddenly have black and white for no reason. It doesn't really match the photograph, etc. So that's my opinion on what I call the black and white trap. Okay, so let's deal with this area right here. So we know that we have a medium pastel here. We went light, light, medium, dark, and then we went a medium for a little bit, then light, super light. But I want to get this realistic, right? So again, I want to get this realistic. Let's look at it zoomed out. This area here. So how do we do that? So we already know the whiskers are obviously going to be a colored pencil, right? We're going to use our Stabilo standard color pencil, and we're going to make whiskers over that. But what about this light area up here that looks totally different? So we're coming in with, like, you know, this sort of this darker pastel and making these little tick marks and whatnot. And then we came in with a brown, and the brown made a little bit of the, so we're making a little pockets of texture. And the pockets of texture make something interesting for your eye to sort of look at, right? So you just have these little pockets of texture sort of coming out right here. So you don't just have the hairs, right? Just the hairs randomly coming out. So again, we've got some of the pockets of texture. And these pastel sticks, they really do the job, man. I mean, you could do this with a pencil, but this makes it look so much better, man. So much better. And these are expensive, so they're full of pigment. Like they're just exploding with pigment. So we can get some of these over here and just sort of come in down there and hit it. Exploding with pigment, man. It's all pretty exciting. Anyway, so that's how we're going to sort of treat this area coming down through here. And then obviously as we get lower, then we're going to be more inclined to sort of hit this with the pastel white. So we're going to hit it with a pastel white, and we'll look at like some of these areas here. Just bring it down a little bit like that. And again, you're asking why not use the colored pencil? Because I want a little bit of this texture down here, right? You can use the pastel white, and then we come in with this gray. Come in with a gray and just sort of give these gaps that we have in between here. So we have these unusual gaps like that as we sort of come down through here, right? And then we need to give it color. So what I'm going to do is get like this sort of muted yellow. This is Carbotello 690. Is this 690? Yeah. 690. And we get sort of the muted yellow. Sort of bring it down through here, right? Because the picture has this muted yellow. Sort of just bring it down and give it that interesting texture like that. And then we're going to get our, you know, the thing that we did here, where we got the super, super light BE7. We get that BE7 and we can sort of come down here a little bit, right? We don't have to have it all white. Get that BE7 and come in through here and just sort of sneak in like this. And sort of rub it in like that. Give us a little room. Give us a little room because we are going to come in again with this pretty golden color. So this is Carbotello 660. Get that little golden color. Just a little golden, like there's something interesting going on here, but I don't know what it is. That golden color, really pretty, like that. And then now we come in with our colored pencil. with our colored pencil, we're going to make, we're just going to sort of have the hairs coming down through here like that. And make sure, you know, to make them squiggly. Make them squiggly. Just go like that. You get them nice and squiggly. You don't want a ton of them, but you want enough. So you have these squiggly lines coming through here. It has this interesting texture in through there. So yeah. So that looks pretty good. So we can sort of just back it up a little bit. And yeah, that looks all right. I like it.